help going too. So it was just a plane ticket. It was like last minute thing, but I was absolutely 100% happy that I made the decision to go. It was a fantastic place. So Gosu is going to be the Enhancement Shaman, taking the place of Yoncee. There it is.
Yoncee, Yoncee. Sounds like a Pokemon name. The evolved form of Chansey or something.
Maybe.
No?
I think, I don't know, man. It's been a while.
I like Blackjeff's transmod. Just very standard Death Knight-y. I love his sword. I want that sword.
Simple but effective. 10 out of 10.
We're going to see how Gosu performs. He is playing Draenei, so he's going to have an extra big heal from his Racial. And Revo's just throwing out some early damage onto Luminiere. Both teams are going to want to go after the healer at some point. And Revo heroically leaps in to kill the Fire Ellie totem that Gosu tried to hide. And Dannycarry throws out a clone onto Gosu. Now he's going to have to sit through. And here comes the potential swap on a 13. They're just going to use it for CC as they're just hitting Luminiere right now. Just putting up some early pressure. Fear now thrown out onto 13 as they swap over to Gosu. He's pushed in fairly deep here. He uses the Shamanistic Rage to tank the damage. Luminiere trying to counter pressure with his Recklessness and his Blade Storm onto Revo, but he's going to heal through it and be okay.
Yeah, Revo chooses to use that in Rage Regeneration there, so he's not going to have that for another minute. With Gosu taking a little bit of damage at the moment. Both teams really not able to accomplish too much. They're going to swap over onto Dannycarry. He's going to have to use that Barskin. Revo popping actually his Recklessness as well as his Avatar. Gosu taking a lot of damage. The Save by the Light comes out, caught into that full Shockwave. 13 gets caught into that Asphyxiate at the moment. Gosu's going to be chunked down. He doesn't have that Shaman Wall up for a little bit longer. 13 finally popping that Avenging Wrath. Going to top him off with this big heals that Paladins have. Dannycarry taking a little bit of damage right now, has to throw that Iron Bark onto himself as well as the Nature Swiftness. And now he only really has his Trinket available at the moment. Gosu's still under fire, taking a lot of damage, down to 50%, getting chunked down hard. 13 still has his Avenging Wrath up at the moment. The triple Shockwave coming out from Rebel. Beautiful Shockwave there. Gosu just still having to play so defensive at the moment, running away the best he can. Dannycarry getting connected onto in that bear form though at the moment, and he still doesn't have Barskin or Iron Bark available, but he's able to Typhoon them away and he's going to be able to top himself off.
Yeah, but Dannycarry, man, like we were saying, he's looking pretty choppable right now, and Luminiere's going to be jumping on him here shortly. Gosu connecting, he's going to get bashed up. Asphyxiate onto 13 for CC. Gosu gets cloned. Dannycarry desperately trying to get those hots rolling while Gosu's unable to purge them, but now he's put into the full Hodge. He did pre-bear form. Blackjeff's trying to counter pressure with Pillar of Frost, not accomplishing too much damage. He actually death gripped into a root, so it's going to get negated. Dannycarry gets charged on his Blank. He still has the Bark Skin for a few remaining seconds, but the Turbo, it looks like they're in a pretty dominating position right now.
Yeah, it's true. Dannycarry under a lot of pressure, getting spam purged down, but at the same time, Gosu down to 28%. The Save of the Light procs as well as the Shaman Wall coming out by him. 13 not caught in any CC, but Luminari and Gosu both taking a lot of damage. The full Asphyxiate comes out by Blackjeff on to 13 at the moment. Gosu's Shaman Wall is about to fade. He's getting chunked. Avatar still up for another 5 seconds. Dannycarry using that Iron Bark, pulling Luminaire behind the pillar. Gosu still getting down to almost into execute range there. Blackjeff taking some damage. And this split is making it really hard for Dannycarry to heal through. But at the same time, Gosu just getting chunked over and over. They're stopping 13's heals so well. The sack coming out onto him. He's finally able to get those casts off. He's going to be able to top Gosu off at the moment. And both teams actually have a lot of pressure right now.
Yeah, and it looks like as we move forward, dampening might be a factor. Both healers are stunned up right now. Dannycarry did activate the bear form before getting stunned, trading the Bark Skin for the Recklessness Blade Storm. Gosu getting chunked here 50%, but 13 pops the Avenging Wrath to try and pick him back up. He's going to be spamming out the Holy Lights. Revo went for the Heroically Pummel, but he didn't land it, and then 13 should be able to spam heal Gosu, at least keep him stabilized, but not topping him off just yet. Gosu and Luminiere still going for the strategy of trying to pursue Danny. Gosu now actually finally pulling off, and then as I say, that wants to push in. He wants to get onto Danny. He doesn't have Bark Skin for 30 seconds. He's going to have to pre-Iron Bark the swap, be ready to get into bear form. We're looking for 13 to push in for the Hodge, but they're in a position where they can't. Now 13 gets asphyxiated. He's going to Trinket that. He gets gripped in. A full fear into Danny. Since they're pressuring Revo as they Stormbolt him, he's going to Trinket, go into D-stance. The Hodge onto Danny, but he pre-bear forms it, which means Gosu can't land the full Hex that he wanted to go for right there. Now he's caught into the Shockwave. 13 gets feared, but Gosu trembled it out. Revo's dive with the sword is going to be fading. Danny gets locked out on that clone, actually by 13. He's standing right on top of him. Now he's going to go into the bash. Gosu's alone here, choosing not to Shaman Rage, finally activating it at 30%. Saved by the Light's going to proc. 13 throws at the Sacrifice as well to try and reduce some of the incoming damage. Gosu should stabilize.
And Gosu doing an excellent job stopping that CC from Dannycarry on the 13 with the grounding and the shock on him. That was a crucial moment there. Revo taking a lot of damage at the moment. He actually has His hots are getting purged down. He has to do that Rage Regeneration, but at the same time, Gosu's taking a lot of damage. He doesn't have that Shaman wall for another 35 seconds. Down in execute range, just get that bop. Catches a clutch bop. Blackjeff trying to get it off as fast as he can, but he's not going to be able to get that. 13 taking some damage now. They're going to swap over onto him. He's actually getting really low on mana. Caught into that full asphyxiate. They're all going to swap back onto Gosu at the moment, though. And 13, all his entire team is rotted down, getting that Avenging Wrath up at the moment. And they're going to try to deny as many heals as possible, actually gripping him in. It looks like they're going to swap on 13, who pops that Aura Mastery. Revo taking a little damage. Dannycarry caught into a Hodge Hex. He's going to trinket that immediately. NS Revo, who has his avatar up right now. And they're just riding this pressure. Luminiere caught into that full clone at the moment. And 13 still has his wings up. And Gosu forced to pop that Shaman as well. Revo and Blackjeff just have so much pressure at the moment.
Yeah, both teams are cleaving each other very hard. The Safeguard and the Shamanistic Rage overlap. Danny's going for a drink. That's so critical. They were tied on mana. Lumineere Heroic leaps in to try and get him out. He gets the Thunderclap. He stops the drink and actually stops it before he got barely any mana. Healer's still reasonably tied. The full Hodge on the Dannycarry. He's out of Bear Form. He gets safeguarded by Revo. He's got the Barkskin as well and a nice Shockwave coming out to peel for him. He should be all right. Revo pops the regen heal to heal himself back up through some of the cleave damage that Lumineere is putting out with his Recklessness, though. Gosu has the Save by the Light proc. He doesn't have Sham Rage for 20 seconds. 13 spamming out the heals. Both Gosu and Revo getting pressured right now. The Blade Storm coming out from Luminiere now to pressure Revo even harder. Dannycarry used the Iron Bark on himself, and he has no Trinket, no Barkskin, no Iron Bark. Gosu gets Shockwaved up, though. They're going to have to make sure they survive this little burst right now. Dannycarry goes for the Tranquility out of line of sight as he cannot be interrupted through the pillar, choosing to cancel it now and roll some of the hots. Uses his Nature Swiftness there to try and top off Revo, but Gosu pops the Ascendance. Dannycarry into the Stormbolt, no Trinket. Pressure onto Revo, but pressure onto Gosu, both equally hard. He's going to Shamanistic Rage to try and push through it. 13 spamming the heals, but Danny's drink is going to end up paying off.
Yeah, Revo taking a little damage, but Gosu's the one in trouble. 13 getting gripped into a triple Shockwave. Beautifully done by Revel and Blackjeff there. And Gosu just getting chunked down through 13's heals. He has Avenging Wrath up at the moment, but once this Avenging Wrath fades, he has no more bops for Gosu, no bubbled. He still has his Trinket, but he really has no cooldowns to really get up the healing he needs for this DK and this Warrior. They're doing so much damage to Gosu. He's still getting chunked down. The full bash on the 13. The 13 actually has no mana left, down to 2% mana at the moment. Caught in that Asphyxiate. Gosu's Save by the Light procs on him. Revo taking a little bit of damage. The Enraged Regeneration coming out onto him. Dannycarry's mana is a huge issue too. Both healers in big trouble. Full clone onto 13. Gosu down into that execute range. The Rallying Cry comes out. He's still at 9%. Trying to kite away. Gets big heal out of execute range there. He still has Rallying Cry up, getting cloned up by Dannycarry. They're going to look to try to get some CC onto 13 if they can. The half fear comes out onto 13 at the moment. Gosu's still not out of the woods yet. The Hodge coming out onto Dannycarry. 13 finally out of CC, but he has no mana. Both healers under so much pressure right now. Dannycarry getting swapped out to Revel popping that avatar, trying to seal the deal, trying to get Gosu down, but he's doing such an excellent job just kiting, getting those heals out onto himself. 13 taking a lot of damage right now. Looks like they are going to swap out onto him. They know he has nothing left. He has no Trinket, no Bob, no Bubbles available. They're in big trouble. 13 trying to get out as many heals as possible. Gosu and 13 both under so much pressure right now. Caught into that DR stun at the moment. Down to 18%. Can he get executed? Down to 2% HP. Survives the first execute, but not the second, and he will go down. That's going to be 1-0 for Placeholder Name.
There it is.
Oh, his name is literally Placeholder Name? I was like, ugh.
Their name literally is Placeholder Name. That's what they signed up with. So I'm assuming that they wanted to change their name, but they never contacted me. So yeah, that's what they signed up with. So there it is. All right. So the first map is going to go to the TSG. So up
really,
next,
that drink was so big. Like, it gave him an extra 15% mana that 13 didn't have, and really both teams were tied for so long in terms of pressure. CC, they were putting in, like, pressuring each other's healers over and over and over, and that was like the only advantage that they got. And if they didn't get that drink, man, like, it might have been the end for Danny too.
Let's show our newest sub some love in GCD TV. Let's give it up to Dmachine 8 and Tadpole.
Thank you so much, Dmachine 8 and Tadpole, for that subscription. Welcome to the family, man. I appreciate it, brother. Oh, man. That's crazy. Thank you. I appreciate that sub, man. Alright, the next map chosen by the Turbo is going to be on Tolvaran Arena. So something Vadrek was telling me earlier on today, guys, was something that I think I should start doing, because it does help the viewers that aren't necessarily super knowledgeable about PvP or maybe even World of Warcraft, is that we do have the ability to kind of hover our mouse over the abilities on here, and I can actually explain to you guys what certain abilities do. So, I mean, on a Restoration Druid, their main defensive cooldowns that you're going to see are going to be Iron Bark, Barkskin, and Nature Swiftness. On the Holy Paladin, you have the Bubble, the Bops, and Aura Mastery. And I mean, even Avenging Wrath is used as a defensive to help them increase their healing a bit more. But that's something that I'm slowly going to start incorporating into our streams, is sharing that information for the players that maybe are a bit less knowledgeable about this game, because we do want to make World of Warcraft arenas something that anyone can enjoy. That's our end goal, right? So, but we'll see.
Yeah.
This is a best of 3 series in the losers bracket at that. So whoever loses this series actually is going to be eliminated from the tournament.
Yeah, and Luminiere charges in. He's playing the Blitz stun. Seems like they're going to go after Gosu. Dannycarry's still sitting in stealth, waiting for a target to Cyclone. He goes for the clone. I believe it got grounded by Gosu, so great grounding by Gosu to interrupt that. Now Dannycarry popping all of his Force of Nature Trents, predicting the swap here, but he gets hodged and shifts out of Bear. Revo is actually getting pressured. A Fear onto 13. Gosu put into the Shockwave as well as Luminiere. They're both going to Trinket to throw the Tremor down and go offensive onto Revo as Danny's put into the Fear, but Blackjeff has a word with that. He pops the Pillar of Frost to turn it around onto Gosu, taking a lot of his HP away. 13 spam healing. Gosu's trying to go for Hex. He gets Death Gripped on it. The Blitz stun comes in from Luminiere. Revo still taking a lot of damage. Dannycarry has to throw out the Iron Bark. The 68 now into 13 is going to force Gosu to use the Shamanistic Rage. He's trying to kite away with the Windwalk Totem. He wants to get a Hex, but I don't think he's going to... Dannycarry's just going to let him get one.
Yeah, the regrowth's coming out now from Dannycarry, trying to keep his team up, trying to top off Revo desperately. He has full hots on him. They're just getting purged over and over by Gosu. You can see his global, so many of them are used on purge. 13 popping that Avenging Wrath, trying to top off Gosu at the moment. Dannycarry actually getting swapped onto right now by the Blade Storm of Luminiere. He's just going to use Barskin, bash Luminiere, displace one on the pillar. He's going to be able to top himself off, but now he has no Barskin and no Iron Bark available, so the next swap on him could potentially be his Trinket. But Gosu taking a lot of damage, even though 13 has wings up. He's not in CC, he gets asphyxiated, DR asphyxiated on his heel, and Gosu's finally going to get topped off. The Trent's coming out from Dannycarry, going to be able to hopefully stabilize his team a little bit. And if we look at cooldowns, 13 still has every single one available except his Avenging Wrath, and Dannycarry only really has his Trinket up right now.
Yeah, but in terms of mana and damage output, we're both kind of tied on each side. Gosu has to use the Ancestral Guidance. He has the Shaman Rage. He doesn't want to use it as 13 isn't CC'd, but that's going to proc the Save by the Light. Now Gosu popping the Ascendance to pair that up to try and put some pressure out, but he's going to get Shockwaved, well-timed Shockwave by Revo. He pops the Avatar, timed with Pillar of Frost out from Blackjeff to try and pressure Gosu. He's at 60% HP. 13 coming out of the CC should be able to top him. He gets charge stunned on his heel. He's going to want to go for some casts here, but he's positioning very close to Danny, who has Bash up. He could choose to just bash him and put him behind. He's camping the Bear for him as they're going for more of a split DPS. They're trying to converge, but Dannycarry displaces across the map. Gosu taking a bit of damage. Blackjeff grips him into the open even further. He drops the Tremor Totem down. Dannycarry gets hodged up. Revo's getting pressured. Gosu's getting pressured. Both players dipping so low at this point. Dannycarry finally leaving the hodge. Now 13 of the asphyxiate. Gosu gets locked out. 1% away from execute. 13 dancing with the devil. Rallying Cry going to come out. He's actually going for an Aura Mastery Hex. He lands the full Hex onto Danny's Trinket. Revo could be in trouble here. He's got the die by the sword, but he's going to get Shockwaved. He has no Trinket for 4 seconds. They need a little bit more burst to push him over, but the stun's going to end. He gets the die by the sword up. He should be all right.
And Revo is hopefully going to be able to top off. Dannycarry getting out as much heals as he can, but once again, look at Gosu's globals just purge over and over and over. They are going to swap out onto Dannycarry, who does use that Iron Bark right away, or that Barskin, pardon me. He's still getting chunked down a little bit, going to choose to displace away at the moment, but Luminiere just chasing him down, and now his Barskin's finally going to fade. He has no Iron Bark available, caught into that DR Shockwave, using that Stampeding Roar to get away. Finally, Gosu taking a little bit of damage, the sack coming out from 13 onto him. 13 tossing out as many heals as possible, trying to stabilize Gosu's health a little bit, but Dannycarry could be in a lot of trouble. He has no Trinket and no Barskin or Iron Bark available, so if they could get a swap on him with a stun, could be in trouble. But Revel taking a lot of damage. Dannycarry's having a really hard time topping him off right now. Does get a regrowth off there. Gosu still under a little bit of pressure. Both Revu and Gosu under so much pressure right now. The Hodge coming out on a Dannycarry, Revel using that in Rage Regeneration. The full Hex from Gosu on a Dannycarry out of that Shockwave, so beautifully done by him. And at the moment, Revel's the one that's in trouble, but Luminiere getting swapped to a little bit has to pop that die by the sword as well, while 13 was caught into that asphyxiate, and both teams under so much pressure right now.
Yeah, and the Hex got stolen by Blackjeff. He threw it on a Gosu, and they didn't break it. Blackjeff using the AMS to mitigate a bit of damage, even Death Striking as well to help Danny out. Danny's really got to focus on keeping the hots up on Revo, but Gosu's the one who's in trouble at the moment. Saved by the Light's going to proc. He's going to use the Shamanistic Rage as well as the Avenging Wrath out from 13 to top him off. Now another Hodge on a Danny. Since they're swapping to Blackjeff, he has the Death Pact. He's going to use it to top himself off. Definitely not being greedy at all, but he's going to getting shredded through it. Danny's trying to heal him. He gets Shockwave 40%. He's going to Icebound Fortitude to remove the stun and kind of reduce the incoming damage as well. Revo pops the Avatar to try and counter pressure Gosu, doing good work so far on the Gosu. He gets put into the full bash. No Shaman Rage for 30 seconds. They need some CC onto 13, possibly a Death Grip on his cast. Gosu's going to get cloned up, low HP. Good reaction from Danny here to negate all of the purging and deny 13's healing, but now Danny gets charged. The Heroic Leap comes back onto Revo. 13's pushing in for the Hodge, it looks like. He throws out the Hodge. Danny pre-bear farms it, so they're unable to swap to him. Gosu's trying to get the Hex, but every time he pre-bear farms the stun, he denies the Hex. He's still trying to go for it, but Danny's not a player to normally just let you get that for free.
And Dannycarry's mana is actually hurting a lot now. He's down to around 18% mana. 13 QT has around 30% mana. So last game, mana was a huge factor. It's got to be something both healers are considering at the moment. Blackjeff taking a little bit of damage. Dannycarry forced in a position where he has to spam out those regrowths to top his team. And because of that, I mean, his mana is just getting chunked down so hard. Dampening just starting out. Dannycarry caught into the full Hodge. Gosu getting pressured down a little bit, has to use that shamanistic wall. But both teams are going to be alright at the moment.
Yeah, and mana is the story of the game. Both healers are tied. Both teams putting out immense pressure so far, and now Dampening's starting to tick in, so they're going to be taxed even harder. Revo dipping to 50%. Gosu seems to have stabilized here. He has the Ascendance as well. He's going to want to have to pop it here soon to get some healing from it as well. He gets safeguarded at 40%. 13 gets put into the full Fury. He might end up having to bubble out of this. The Tremor gets dropped by Gosu. The Save by the Light's going to proc. He's pulling back and kiting, and he did an excellent job last game of that. He's trying to stabilize 13's mana because Dannycarry has slowly past him now in terms of mana efficiency. Revo has to use the regen heal, and Gosu gets cloned up here. Dannycarry should be able to pick him up into a reasonable amount of HP, and he's trying to spam the clones up, but he's going to get charge stunned on that clone. Revo still dipping fairly low at 30%. It's not looking comfortable for him. Danny gets locked on the regrowth, but he landed the full clone onto Luminiere, giving himself a little bit more time, and he really has to keep getting these clones. Gosu's trying to go for a Hex, pressure Danny behind the pillar so he can't spam heal. Gosu gets Shockwave. He has the sack and the Shaman Rage to reduce the incoming damage. With dampening at 10%, it might not matter. 13's almost out of mana. He trinkets. He's going in for desperation to try and get a Hodge and try and stop the drink. Dannycarry's getting so much mana right now, and Gosu's getting pressured so hard. They're going to stop the drink, but how much mana did he end up getting back? 61%. It might just be the game because of that. Danny gets locked out. Gosu has to get bopped, and he's still dipping low. 20% HP. He's trying to line of sight. He's trying to kite for his life, but that mana pool is going to be looking grim for the team of that Turbo Warrior.
Yeah, Dannycarry getting that Shadow Mill drink off, very favorable for him, as well as the stealth from Cat form. So it was hard for them to really notice it, and Dannycarry doing an excellent job capitalizing on that. And I think that'll end up winning him the game. In all honesty, 13 doesn't have the chance to go drink. Finally going to drink right now, but because of that, Ghosty's just gonna die. I mean, he kind of had to go for that drink. It was one of those situations where they were either gonna lose there or lose in like a couple of minutes down the road because Dannycarry was so far ahead on mana. So I don't blame him for going for that drink.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, man. But it's game changing when Dannycarry